Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Single Malt Review. Straight off the back of our review of the Ardbeg Day 2017, which you have surely already watched. If not, then hurry and see it now. It's hot. Got to get it while it's hot. We've got stomach for more Islay whisky, so we thought we'd just do a hop, skip and a jump over to Bowmore and try their 12-year-old, because I think for a rather an ordinarily presented whisky, it's actually pretty good.
Yes, we've only tried one whisky from Bowmore previously on the channel. That was a BBR, independent bottling.
Yes, it was.
Episode of it about a year ago, which really has flown under the radar. It's not had a lot of traction there.
No, one of our most all-time unpopular videos, that one. So if you're feeling charitable, go have a look at our review of BBR's Bowmore. It was a perfectly good dram. I can't actually remember a great deal about it off the top of my head, but I won't hold that against it. It was quite a long time ago. But
Though we're delving into Bowmore's more standard range.
Yes, indeed.
40% chill filtered, coloured, and with no particular mention of what sorts of casks have gone into it. So
this is very much as ordinary a Bowmore as you can possibly get. It's very much the entry level where Bowmore begins. But all that said, I think it's actually a pretty keen whisky despite all that. So
there's something to be said for an accessible and market-friendly, consumer-friendly whisky.
Consumer-friendly in the price realm, certainly. You can get this pretty cheap. At any rate, without further ado, let's see what's going on here. Now, coloured, sadly, so we can't glean too much from that. But if we could see the colour, I think we would be seeing something a little bit darker than not, because I think there is no small amount of sherry influence on that nose. It's quite a gentle, quite a fruity, rich nose for an Islay whisky.
It's very, I normally associate Bowmore with being a bit more peaty. The most standout Bowmore for me being the Tempest.
I think the thing is, though we've tried Bowmore here and there, we've tried peculiar Bowmores. We've tried either single casks, which is sort of their own thing, and of course Tempest. I've tried all sorts of weird Bowmores, including an unpeated Bowmore, another independent bottle, and they're all sort of fascinating, but we haven't really touched on standard Bowmore, and this is really the style of it. It's more gentle than you expect from a full-on Islay whisky, and Bowmore is still a full-on Islay whisky, but just not quite in the same sort of peat spectrum as your Lafroigs, your Lagavulins, your Ardbegs, that sort of thing. It sort of sits in its own middle ground between the very, very low peated Bunnahabhain and Bruichladdich. Of course, Bruichladdich is broken out into sort of two different distinct styles now. One is practically unpeated, one is all the way peated. So gone is the old Bruichladdich style, which I think is just slightly sad. But anyway, that's entirely beside the point. This is Bowmore 12, and this, I think, we will discover is pretty solid.
Yeah. It may just be because we've been sampling an Ardbeg within the last half hour, but I'm detecting only a lot of hints of peat on the nose there. Lashings of fruit pie, like an apricot pie.
The peat there is quite different, whereas Ardbeg is the peat is like, it's like a snap crackle. It's right there. It's very, very tangy. It's very, very dry, very ashen. Bowmore is there's a pungency to it, which I quite like. It's a little bit like, it's a smouldering peat. It's a peat that's, it's sort of something musty burning. To be extremely, extremely specific, this brings to mind, it's funny how smells bring to mind some very specific things sometimes. This brings to mind the smell of a smouldering bee smoker. If there's any apiarists out there, a bee smoker is just a sort of it's a little baffle, really, designed to blow air out a hole, and it's usually stuffed with not quite dry grass, sort of like wet hay, and there's a particular fusty, pungent, smoky smell about that, that this brings me right back to sort of danger harvesting, swarming bee colonies with my father a very, very long time ago. But yeah, that's what this smells of to me. It's a very, very round, very unctuous, it's a spherical nose on it. There's no sharp edges on it, which is quite unusual for Islay whisky.
Well, I can't relate to the grass smoke, but in addition to the sweet pastries, I'm getting a little bit of maybe candle wax. Anyway, let's see what it actually tastes like. oh, there's that peat. Mm-hmm. I was waiting and lurking to pounce. It's very sharp, very salty. Not the oily maritime kind of a peat.
It is just a little bit of a peat ambush when you put it in your mouth. It's quite compelling, really. Like now there's quite a lot of sort of charcoal coming in. It is a lot drier on the palate than it is on the nose, but still not completely dry. This sort of round pungency is still here, and there's lots of sort of almost fermenting fruits. Fruits that have maybe gone a bit overripe, maybe a little bit past it. And
maybe like a slightly squashy nectarine, some apricots.
Like a slightly fizzy apple and things on here.
Stone fruit.
And I think it's pretty pleasing. And there's, for all the world, a note of old wood. When you have an old whiskey, which this is not, when you have a whiskey that's counting into the 30-year-old mark, there is a distinct flavour that comes with old wood. And there's just there's a suggestion of it in here, which makes me quite sure, actually, that there's quite a lot of top dressing going on in here. I think there's quite a lot of significantly older Bowmore, maybe heading more towards the 20-year-old mark, tipped in here to bolster things up. So I think we're getting a little bit more than we expect from this 12-year-old example.
Yeah, that is rather fruity and quite strongly, compellingly so, especially given that it's bottled at 40%, which is by contemporary standards very, very low for a single malt.
Just one last tasting note before it gets away from me. There's quite an umami character on this one as well. It's quite a meaty, almost mushroomy, bottom of the log type thing, which really goes along with the sort of sweet, pungent, but still salty, still slightly drying, peaty elements of it. I think it's really quite a complete whiskey. What I really wish is if I could try an unchill filtered, at least 46% version of this, if not a cask strength version, because I think all of these characters that I'm enjoying would be so much more expressive at full strength without chill filtration. I think the pungency would just be that much more pungent. The mouthfeel would be that much rounder. I'm not usually a huge stickler for chill filtration or lack thereof. I try to maintain more reason than not without wading too heavily into that argument. But this one, though I enjoy it, I really, really makes me wish I could try it in an unaltered state, because I think it would be even better. And I wouldn't mind paying a bit more for it either. So, I don't know, there's an idea of Bowmore. If you've got any spare 12-year-old lying around, an unaltered version, I think, would be right up my alley.
It's been a while since I looked at the Bowmore shelf at our local, so for we know, maybe I'll be something of that nature
but
already.
If nothing else, this has made me realise that I should be paying more attention to Bowmore, because it's not a forgotten Islay whiskey, but it's certainly not one that takes its share of the limelight that goes around. It's very much eclipsed by some of the more now distilleries.
They don't have the same kind of aggressive media presence or the ambitious experimental cask maturing.
There was certainly no Bowmore Day 2017. We can say that much. There's nor is there the friends of Bowmore, nor anything else. It doesn't go out there like a lot of other Islay whiskies does. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that whatsoever. I think a lot of that is a bit superfluous, in my opinion. But at any rate, this Bowmore 12-year-old is not. This is really, really very good. It's an 89 from me.
Wow.
What do you think?
Okay. I've just added the tiniest smidge of water in here. Very conservative with the water because of how relatively low strength it is already. And that's... Before I apply a score, I want to explore this a bit more, because that's really changed things a bit. It's brought out a character which is... It's making me think of what you said about the underside of a damp log. There's something slightly off about it. Sort of like wet hay or something of that nature.
I'd call it a little bit of a fungal quality, but in a good way.
But that's... it's added a sort of a fruit punch element to the flavour, so that's actually going places. Yeah, this is really quite an eye-opener. It's very, very good for something, especially considering it's 40% and has been chill filtered. It'd be great to know more about the mix of casks and the mix of ages of whiskey that went into it. And more than anything, it makes me want to go back to Bowmore and try more of their range, especially what they have out now. And it's going to rank an easy 85 for me.
It's making me want to try Bowmore 18 and maybe beyond, which is maybe an expensive prospect, because Bowmore, like all Islay whiskies, gets precipitatively more expensive the older it gets, but never mind. Fairly strong scores considering we're in hard markers. Easy recommendation for me. If you haven't tried it, it's a pretty low investment to pick it up. I got this one for some Glenfiddich prices, really. I suppose it would be the one metric to compare it against, which isn't a bad buy for a good 12-year-old whiskey, which this one is. But before we approach the 15-minute mark and the abyss, we will let you go and pick out something else. So, Slanjo, keep safe. This has been the Single Malt Review. Thank you very much for watching.